Michael Flynn, President Donald Trump's national security advisor, is under investigation by U.S. counterintelligence agents for communications he's had with Russian officials. Joining us now to discuss this Wall Street Journal exclusive is reporter Devlin Barrett in our Washington bureau. Welcome, Devlin. Great to have you with us.
Hey, how are you?
Devlin, so is Flynn the first person inside the White House under President Trump whose communications are known to have faced scrutiny?
That's right, and what was looked at is a set of conversations a set of phone conversations that he had apparently had with the Russian ambassador to the U.S. in December. Those are of the major concern to the intelligence officials who looked at this at the time, and that's the first instance we know of someone who's now in the White House, their communications surfacing in counterintelligence investigations, looking at Russians' interactions with Americans on these issues.
And those phone calls that you mentioned, the date is significant, correct? They happened on the day the Obama administration announced sanctions against Russia?
That's right, and that's a key issue for a lot of the folks who have looked at this, because the Obama administration at the very end of the administration announces punitive measures against Russia over the alleged hacking of Democratic operatives. And at the day that is announced, we're told intelligence intercepts pick up a number of calls between Mr. Flynn and the Russian ambassador. And that's alarming to some folks within the intelligence community. And they've been trying to understand. But that's not the only set of contacts between Mr. Flynn and Russians that the intelligence community has looked at, we're told. And they've been trying to understand better what the nature of those relationships are, what the nature of those conversations are. And that's, a big part of their worry.
And when you say U.S. counterintelligence agents, the other agencies have joined into this investigation. Is that correct?
That's right. There's a bigger picture here that's more than about just Mr. Flynn's phone calls. There's a number of agencies, including the FBI, the NSA, and the CIA, and the Treasury Department, that have, over a period of many months, dating back to before the election, been looking at Russian interactions with people close to Mr. Trump, the president, to see what were those arrangements, what were those relationships and conversations. And it's not clear that, frankly, it's produced anything particularly incriminating. That's still a question mark, I think, in this whole process.
Sure.
But the amount of looking, I think, indicates the level of concern there is among the intelligence community about this.
And what has the White House said about this investigation?
The White House has said it has no knowledge of any investigation like this, that they've defended Mr. Flynn's contact with the ambassador, saying it was simply a scheduling matter, and they did not discuss things like the administration's punitive actions against Russian diplomats. And that's their argument on it. I think frankly there's more to say and more to report going forward as to what the intelligence community believes was said in those conversations, right. And that's what we're working on.
All right, now, certainly he's not the only one, though, connected to Trump who's under investigation. Campaign manager Paul Manafort, advisors Roger Stone and Carter Page are all also under investigation as well?
Well, I think it's important to think about this in terms of a counterintelligence investigation, because counterintelligence is different than a criminal investigation. What they're trying to do for many of these folks is understand, are there relationships, are there connections between Russian officials and these Americans? That doesn't necessarily mean that the Americans are themselves under investigation, but it does mean that their interactions and their financial or otherwise relationships with Russians, if those things exist, are going to get looked at. And so for Mr. Manafort, who's a former campaign chairman, he had a previous career working in Ukraine politics. That has surfaced in an actual criminal probe, and so his name has surfaced in that investigation. With Mr. Stone, it's related to WikiLeaks and the disclosures there. He denies any wrongdoing and says, it's basically a misunderstanding about some stuff he tweeted back during the campaign. And with Mr. Page, it's basically a look at whether or not he had conversations and meetings about business deals, and what was underneath those conversations was one of the things that they looked at.
All right, thank you, Devlin Barrett, for that. I'm sure you will have more for us on this in the days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.